Hey everyone, welcome to Kempner Canucks. My name is Rev Trev, and whether you're watching live in the live stream or you're listening later on the audio or watching later, I'm so glad you're here. It's the middle of August. We're talking about the Canucks, and we're going to go back to a couple days ago where there was a trade that was leaked on the Ottawa Senators YouTube channel with the Vancouver Canucks. This is mind-blowing. I'm going to do a deep dive. So maybe you've heard some people do some videos or audio on this already. I don't think you're going to hear one like this. I'm going deep in this. This is absolutely interesting and so fascinating. This is the kind of stuff that I absolutely love listening to, diving into, and I love talking about. So as I just moved my mic closer, I had it to the right of me. Hopefully that didn't wreck anything there, but I'm pumped that you're here. I'm going to hit the intro, and we're going to dive right into this trade offer. Wow, I can't believe it still to this day. And this took me 2 days to prepare for this. Let's go. All right, so I'm recording this super late. It's 10:36 p.m. Pacific time on August 18th, which is a Tuesday night. And if you're in the East or you're outside of somewhere in the world, like there's people here that listen from London and other places. There's people from New Zealand. It's already the next day. If you're in the Toronto area or Ontario, I should say, not just Toronto. It's the next day, so this is pretty cool. It's pretty cool. So now it's August 18th for me. It might be August 19th for you when you hear this. Great to have you here. So let's dive into this, guys, girls, anyone, all you guys who are listening to this right now. The Ottawa Senators rejected a Canucks draft day trade offer, and it is absolutely interesting. So the Senators shared a video on their YouTube channel titled Untapped Potential / Breakaway. And this is where you literally see Senators General Manager Steve Staios took a phone call during the draft from the Vancouver Canucks. And the reason why we know that is what was offered. The Canucks were the ones that had these two picks. The Canucks offered picks 33 and 41 in exchange to move up in the draft for picks 25 and 72. If you haven't heard about this, this is mind-blowing. If you have heard this, let's dive in. So Sens GM Steven Staios had rejected this trade, and instead he goes and he selects, which is absolutely mind-blowing, he selects Jonas Lagenberg Hone. Okay, now you might be like, who is that? Who is that guy? And so we're going to dive into it. He's a Swedish 6'2", right-handed, right winger, not right-handed, well, right-handed, right winger. He's 6'2", 180 pounds, who only played 11 games due to injury. So a lot of people are criticizing this pick. Now, this is part of the deal that the Ottawa Senators did with Brady Tkachuk. This is who they're, quote unquote, one of the pieces they're replacing him with. And if you look at the NHL.com draft rankings, they had Jonas Lagenberg Hone as the 19th best international skater, and his midterm rank was 31st, and they drafted him 25th. He was the 19th best international skater. So what really impressed the Ottawa Senators? Why would they reject this trade? Because really, hindsight 2020, it's just wild that they didn't take this deal. Why wouldn't have they taken this deal? Because they wanted Jonas, right? What was it that they saw before the injury or in those 11 games that he was that incredible? Because if you look at it, in 9 games with the under 20 National Lex Sands, IF under 20. He had 9 goals and 7 assists for a total of a whopping 16 points. Then he only played 2 games in the SHL, which is the Swedish Hockey League. That's the professional league there. And he had 0 points. So 11 games, 16 points. What did they see in his play that they decided, you know what, we're not going to take this deal and we're going to draft him at 25? And Ottawa had a pick at 32, and they took left winger Jackson Cover, right? So if they would have traded with the Vancouver Canucks, they most likely would have gotten him at 33, because it sounded like a lot of maybe GMs, but more, that's the most important part. But experts did not have him. I mean, he had 11 games. Like, what is it about this kid? They're like, we have to have this guy. And then they could have had him at 32. 32. And then Jackson Cover at 33. And then still got from the Vancouver Canucks a 41st pick. Now, I'm assuming that Lagerberg, Hone would have been available there. Maybe not, but that's only 7 picks away. And then my guess is Vancouver was not interested in Jonas at all. His size, maybe he had good skill, but they were not looking for someone like that. And no offense to him, but look at how they drafted. They were not interested in a guy with that injury history and that kind of stuff. So if I'm just going to bring this up, if you're watching this on video, you can see this thing, but I'll describe it here for the audio people. So at pick 26, the Montreal Canadiens traded up. Now, they traded up with the Vegas Golden Knights, and the Vegas Golden Knights traded back. So Montreal goes up only 2 picks and gives up their 2028 third-round pick. And the commentators kept saying that the Canadiens wanted size. The Canadiens are trading up for size. Why would they trade up 2 spots? And there's a certain guy they wanted. Well, they got that. And I'm going to try my best not to butcher the names, okay? But this is the Russian monster, right? Gleb Pugachev. And I was listening to that pronunciation for on the Russian channel. So that was you can say it in a North American way, but he's an 18-year-old big hitter, left shot, 6'3", 225 pounds. I know a lot of Canuck experts, like a guy like Jacob Doodle from Doodle Hockey, was very interested in him, hoping that we would have landed him, but we didn't end up getting him. But he's a huge hitter. He's big, strong, fast, edgy kind of player, but I'm not really sure what kind of offensive upside that he will have at the NHL level. But the problem with the Russian players is that they're no longer coming over to play in North America. So the teams are leaning heavily on the scouts who are located in Russia. They are no longer they are taking longer to develop in Russia, and teams are not getting their hands on them for longer periods of time. And we've seen that with Ivchenko, that is the goalie that we selected as well, same kind of thing. So at 25, Ottawa selects Lagerberg, Hone, and at 26, Montreal gets Pugachev, and he's the big boy. At pick 27, the Philadelphia Flyers got Maxim Sokolovsky, and he's the Russian defenseman that's 6'8", some say 6'7", many say 6'8", weighing around 238 to 240 plus pounds. He's like the perfect Flyers fit, big boy. Maxim was asked, who's your favorite player you've modeled your game after? Sokolovsky said Victor Hedman, Logan Stanley, or Keith Yandel, which, okay, I would have just said Victor Hedman. Victor Hedman and Logan Stanley. I mean, Keith Yandel. Was Keith Yandel big? I don't know. So Max is big. He's mean. He hits. One of the things that the Flyers organization loved about him because he could skate well. I watched an interview with an assistant coach for the Flyers talking about how they didn't have big defensemen and they needed to fix that problem, and they definitely did that. Then I saw an article from Canucks Army, Jacob Frazier, and he says Slafkovsky had a lot to work on before he makes the jump to professional hockey. Jacob says that he's not the most mobile skater and doesn't quite move the puck well enough yet. That said, his physicality paired with his size and strength would have made him a very intriguing player for the Canucks at that spot. So who could have they gotten? They could have gotten him. Is that where they're moving up in the draft? That's the interesting thing, right? So and this coach also had talked about how it's hard to find people like a Zadorov, and we know how valuable a Zadorov can be, intimidating and all that kind of stuff, right? So, but the Canucks only drafted one D-man in the draft. Forwards were their point of view, right? Forwards were their point of view. And so when you're looking at this, and you're looking at this roster of what they grabbed at the draft, you're just sitting there going, they were looking for goal scorers. They're looking for guys to help the offense, especially with the team that can't shoot the puck enough per night, can't score enough goals, right? So that was their point of emphasis. And maybe it's because the D that they were targeting were selected before their positions of the draft. So who really knows, right? No one will know except the guys in the organization who were in those meetings to give advice to draft, and those that were making the decisions. This is the only people are going to know who they could have gotten. So who else could have it been? Could have been the left winger, Marcus Nordmark. I mean, he was good. The center, Jack Hextall. Maybe it was the other defenseman, Tommy Blyle, who's very good and highly touted. But some people just say, the Canucks are trying to trade up so that they could just go and get Brooks Rogowski the entire time. And the good news is they were able to land him at 33. But I don't really buy that, to be honest with you. I mean, they're going to say that now, but it's definitely possible. He was a guy that they were very interested in, but there was a number, as you can see, two guys there at 25 were big, just like Rogowski. So at pick 33, the Canucks end up taking the first pick in the second round, Brooks Rogowski. He's a center who's 6'7", and I have 325 pounds here, but that's incorrect. It's 230. Let me just see. Why do I not have that? That's weird. My bad. Where do I have them? Okay. Gus, got to get this. My apologies. 236 pounds. I had 325. Okay. 236. That's a monster, everyone. 236 pounds. He's the right-handed shot center. Now, a lot of you know that we drafted him, but maybe you don't. Maybe you didn't listen to all the backstory stuff, okay? Maybe you didn't listen to all that, because this is the part that's absolutely nutso and gonzo. Is Brooks had to make a decision whether to pursue baseball or hockey. Now, his parents were high-level athletes, and he was saying he really was glad that he picked hockey to get drafted, to prove himself as an NHLer. 2 years ago, he didn't know what the OHL even was, and now he's being drafted into the NHL out of the OHL. So he didn't know what the OHL was 2 years ago. Think about that for a second. But he wanted to be picked as a first rounder, and he was picked as the first pick in the second round, so he's basically there. And Rogowski got to play with Caleb Malhotra and Adam Novotny at the OHL top prospects game. Obviously, he's big and he's skilled, but he's still new to hockey. He excelled big time in those 2 years to be drafted so high in the draft. And then if you watch the video, the Canucks Insider interview with Chris Faber, he interviews Brooks Rogowski, and he said he started skating at 3. He played AAA hockey until he was 14, then played high school hockey in Michigan, was more of a baseball player, then played hockey just for fun. But then he went to some hockey thing, and he ended up being recognized by the Oshawa Generals, got drafted 38th overall to the Oshawa Generals in the second round to play in the OHL. He had a decent first year with the Generals. I mean, he's still new. You know what I mean? This isn't his sport. And the second year, he had a good year and on a very bad Generals team. And then now he's going back after being drafted by the Canucks to year 3. And he said he can't wait to see what year 3 looks like for him with the Oshawa Generals. So his goal, he said in that interview, is to be more consistent, to be an offensive threat, and to be more consistently physical as well. So after a third year with the Oshawa Generals, Rogowski's committed to going to Michigan State. Why Michigan State? Because they know how to develop big guys. It's close to home for him, and they have proven coaching staff. Strengthening and conditioning coaches are elite there. So thoughts about getting drafted from the Vancouver Canucks? Brooks says, well, it's far from home, which that is never a good sign, especially with what happened with Quinn Hughes. Yikes. Okay. But he said he's super excited. He thinks it's a great opportunity. There's great fans. It's a great city. And then there was the draft day interview. And he asked, what part of your game can translate into the NHL? And Brooks says, I play a 200-foot game. Woo! That's music to Canuck fans' ears. He says, I play a responsible game. I can kill penalties. And he said, I'm looking forward to develop even more. And then with that 41st pick overall that got rejected in that deal, the Canucks selected in the second round Nicholas Aram-Olsen, who's the left winger. He's 6 feet, 187 pounds from Norway. So he's one of those guys. He's speedy, and he's had one of the best shots in the NHL draft. And Canucks Insider interview with Chris Faber, when he interviews Aram-Olsen, said Nicholas said getting drafted was a dream come true. Said he loves to score goals, and he has good hockey IQ. He played in Norway until he was 15 years old, moved to Sweden to play with the players his age, and excelled at all levels. And now he's headed to the NCAA. So Nicholas Aram-Olsen is headed to Boston University to play college hockey in the NCAA for this season, 26-27 season, joining fellow Vancouver Canucks draft pick Caleb Malhotra. Let's go. They're going to be building chemistry already. So the big question, and I want to ask you, so post in the comments, what are your thoughts about the trade offer and the rejection? Post it in the comments. Now, I'll give you my thoughts on this, okay? But I really do want to hear from you. Personally, I love that the Canucks general manager, Ryan Johnson, was aggressive. Trying to get 3 first-round picks in a rebuild is absolutely incredible. Love hearing that because you don't hear these stories very often. The second thing is I also wonder who they were targeting, and we will honestly never know. But they always say they were going to go with who they drafted. To say it was someone else would not be in the best interest of the team or the players who were selected. And I like that this deal got rejected because I actually like who he ended up with. Now, don't get me wrong. Time will tell as we watch these other players develop. Maybe they would have wanted Lagenberg Hahn or Gleba Pugachev or Slokovsky, Maxim Slokovsky. I'm so bad at these names. My apologies. But I think it's going to be – I'm going to watch these 3 guys now. Actually, Lagenberg, Hahn, probably not so much. But the other two big boys, absolutely. But then you think about it, at 33, I'm excited that we got Brooks Rogowski. And then at 41, getting a guy who can rip the puck like Aram-Olsen, that's awesome. So sometimes the best trades are the ones that don't happen. Sometimes the best trades are the ones that don't happen. So I would love to hear your thoughts on this. This is absolutely interesting to me. And as you can see on the screen, if you're watching this later, this is how the draft happened. This is how the draft went. So let's see if there's let's go into the comments right away. Let's go on the comments. So we got Jeremy in the building, Fabled Heroes here, and then Apex Sports Networks here. And he says, I really love tuning into your YouTube channel every single night. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. C-Maps here says, Canucks chat, let's go. Lyndon's in the building. Murray Reed from New Zealand is here in the chat. I'm pumped. Okay, let's see if there's any comments. Robert says, had this trade gone down, that means Vancouver wouldn't have gotten both Rogowski and Aram-Olsen. I feel like the Canuck fans would have been mad if Vancouver only got one of those guys instead of both. Well, you got to think of it this way, okay? And that's very legitimate point, okay? Very legitimate point. But you got to think, you go Malhotra, Novotny, and then whoever else. I think it's Slafkovsky was the guy that they wanted, the big defenseman. I mean, if you got him, you wouldn't even know that we didn't get Rogowski. You wouldn't even have known that Aram-Olsen. Now, no, like I wasn't looking at Aram-Olsen. I knew that he was decent, but I didn't hear his name a lot. I did quite a bit of research, and it wasn't a guy that I was high on my own list. Rogowski was, but you wouldn't have known, right? So, yeah, hindsight 2020, you can see that. But yeah. Yeah, so CMAP, do you know who the Canucks were targeting at 25? Nobody knows that answer. I gave 3 players that went right after, and then 3 other options as well. And yeah, so like for example, Villeneuve, Xavier Villeneuve, I thought they were going to take him at 33, but they went and took Brooks Rogowski there. So Rogowski's there. Yeah. So, I mean, they weren't going to take him higher, I don't think, but I knew a lot of people were high on Rogowski as well. So I gave you 3 guys that got drafted in that area. Then I gave 3 more guys who got drafted after that before we took Brooks. And so I gave you 6 options of potential people that could have got drafted by the Canucks. Robert says, if the Sens pick blossoms into an NHLer, they look like geniuses for not making the trade. Absolutely. If the Canucks players project and do well, the Sens pick doesn't, then the Sens look like idiots. Exactly. It's exactly. CMAP says, I don't remember Yandel being big, but he was durable. If memory serves me, he had a lengthy Iron Man streak. That's true. So that's where Sokolovsky was saying that's the guy that he models himself after. Fabled Hero says Rogowski has potential to surprise all of us in a good way. Yes, but we also took a risk on him. Like, he doesn't have the pedigree or the production yet. So he is definitely a project, and I'm okay with doing a project because he's like, I'm willing to learn. When just listening to his interviews, I was like very impressed with how mature he was, how willing he was to learn the game more, how much he wanted to develop, what his goals were. Those were really encouraging to me. So there's potential. And when you get to those picks, you're looking for potential, you're looking for skill, you're looking for size, you're looking for speed. One of those things, maybe 2 of those 3, that's what we're looking for. Peter's in the building. How's your summer going, Rev Trev? You know what? Pretty good. Had some crazy stuff happen to me this summer. Didn't see coming. Been spending lots of time with family. We've had a wedding and lots of family over at the house last few weeks. So that's why I haven't been on much. I've really enjoyed my time with family. Everyone just left tonight, so that's one of the reasons why I'm making this now. Haven't made a ton of videos in August, just enough to stay relevant. But yeah, so I got a bunch more videos. I got another one that's coming up that I've been working on for a while, and I think you're going to like it. There's literally nothing going on in August, so even getting this information is massive for us. Absolutely. So Jack's in the building, and Simon's here. And Jack says, bro, I saw Sakaras at the dispensary. Haha, guy's awesome. Chill, dude. Okay, interesting. Jack, I think they wanted the Ruck twins, like what we did. I like what we did better, to be honest. Well, they might have wanted the Ruck twins, but if you look at 22, Liam Ruck went to Pittsburgh, so the Canucks are trying to go to pick Adam Novotny at 24, and with the 25th pick, they wouldn't have got one of the Ruck twins, so they didn't. Fabled says the fact that lots of media outlets rated the Canucks draft as highly as they did gives me a lot of hope. I believe in this management group. Yeah, I'm hoping for the best as well. Doctor, yes, says the problem is we don't know when this deal is talking before the draft or start or after. No, it was during the draft. It was in the draft room, man. It was in the war room. You can see it on there. They're all in the room, and they had that conversation, and they had to make a decision in there. So they might have done it before the draft, and they were like, okay, we'll see what we get at 25 and then talk to you. And then Ryan Johnson calls, and they're like, nope, we'll text you what we're going to do. And they decided to reject the trade, make the pick, go with the Swedish winger, and call it a day, and text Ryan Johnson back, said, not interested, thanks so much. Jack says, my best guess is they wanted the Rucks, but Liam went at 22, so they wouldn't have gotten Novotny. Yeah, and honestly, guys, I think that Novotny will be a better player than Liam Ruck, but we will see. We will see. Apex Sports Network says, I really love your YouTube channel. Thanks so much, man. Appreciate that. Read that already, but I appreciate the love again. Jack says the call could have been during the teens. Could have easily been before pick 22. Absolutely. Absolutely. But I think it was right when they were picking that Ryan gave him a call. That, like, if you watch it over, watch it again and see what you think. So this is absolutely fascinating stuff. Like, love that Ryan Johnson did that. Absolutely love that he did that. So cool. Honestly, so stinking cool that he pulled that off. It was absolutely amazing. So, yeah, great to see the Canucks trying to move up, trying to be aggressive, but really like who we drafted there. Hopefully both of those guys pan out. So Apex Sports Network says, you're one of the greatest Vancouver Canucks content creators ever on the channel, and I really love your hot takes and what you bring to this community. Thank you so much. That is very kind of you to say. Well, just try my best to make good content, passionate, realistic, and honest. And yeah, we're going to call it a night, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. I'm going to post this on the audio. And my next video is going to be about the rebuild. So you want to be able to stay tuned, doing some more research on that before I go live with that one. And it's fantasy football season for me. I just did a 4-hour auction draft, 12 teams, super flex. If you don't know fantasy football, you will not know what I'm talking about. 0.5 PPR, premium tight end. It was over 4 hours. It was over 4 hours. The auction just took forever. Now, that's not normal for a fantasy football, but talking with my friend Trevor, we're going to be doing, I think what we're going to be doing is a fantasy hockey video soon, and you do not want to miss that one either. So there's a lot going on, and I'm excited for the season. Jack says, draft would have been Malhotra and the Ruck twins, no Novotny or Rogowski. Yep, that's what it would have been. I personally like what we drafted better. And I no disrespect to the Ruck Twins. Apex Sports Network said, I'd love to have you on my channel when the San Jose Sharks play the Vancouver Canucks in San Jose. Yeah, that'd be great. That would be awesome. I'd be awesome. I'd love to join you. Okay. And then C-Matt says, eager for the Canucks to start, but in the meantime, kick the ball off. I know football is around the corner. Can't wait to watch the Seahawks and, of course, my Packers. There's so many teams I want to watch this year. I want to see the Rams, what they look like. There's so many good teams. So, yeah, lots and lots of good footballs coming up. So, and hoping to go to a football game as well this year. Hoping to go to the Rams-Packers game, American Thanksgiving. That would be epic. Okay. Thanks so much for everyone for being here. Have a great night. And, of course, always, we believe in blue. We want to see this team in this rebuild because, hey, that's what we wanted. That's what we asked for, right? That's what we asked for. And, of course, always we cheer this team on. I feel like that ending was a little rusty. It's been a few days. And but I'm glad to be back on the saddle. Go Canucks. Go.